to Call the Damn Leads, the show by sales professionals for sales professionals. I'm your host, Drew B. Wilson. With more than 2 decades in sales, I've seen it, been through it, heard about it. Now I'm bringing it to you, my favorite people in the world, the sales community. Because let's be honest, this is the greatest job on earth. Doesn't matter where you come from, what background, what personality type, or what gender. You can make an amazing life in sales, and today's guest is no stranger to that journey. I'd like to welcome Sarah Stahl to the show. How are you?
Whoop! Happy to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. Grateful for your time, but I want to jump right in. I want to hear your crazy sales story.
Right to the sales story? All
Oh,
right,
right
here
to
we
it.
go.
Let's get
Here,
after
here
it.
we go. Okay, let's get at it. Okay, so as a marketer, all the sales folks can start laughing at me immediately because marketers tend to be known for not their greatest sales capabilities, but I feel like that's just as important for marketers as it is for sales folks. So I was hired as marketing director for a startup treehouse resort about 2 years ago. I was their fourth employee, and I was new to the short-term rental space. So knowing marketing really well, I immediately did a deep dive on where we stood as market share and competitor, what was happening in that landscape, and we were nowhere, starting from ground zero in a heavily competitive market with no share and a huge competitor who was famous, by the way, and had big Google ad spend. So I decided to zig because I'm like, we can't play in that space. We cannot do what everybody else is doing, coming up from out of nowhere and get somewhere. And so I went all in on an influencer marketing strategy that lasted weekly for 2 years. And we took a startup treehouse resort to $1 million in revenue within a year. And 93% occupancy, which in the short-term rental space is unheard of. Typically, in that space, properties are reliant on the Airbnbs of the world and have roughly 10% direct bookings. And we just decided we wanted to do something a little different.
I've always loved the back and forth between marketing and sales, and the pure salespeople. They hate the marketing department because they send them shitty leads, and the marketing department's like, "You guys just suck at your
We
job.
don't
Call
hate
the
sales.
damn leads." Like,
We actually don't. I think sales hates marketing more than marketing hates sales, FYI. But yeah, I get you.
yeah, well, and I'm one of those people that I came from, like, I was always in sales, and I realized that when I could generate my own leads, I could write my own paycheck. So I have a deep affinity and a love for the marketing aspect of things. And what I
Yeah.
really love about your story is the idea that you don't have to follow the same path that everybody else does and still be successful with your business model. And so, like, what prompted you to go that route, to like think outside the box instead of going your traditional path? Like, what made you decide that was how you wanted to handle it?
I actually don't look at it like looking outside of the box. As a good marketer, I learned to read the market and read customers and where they're going. And I knew at that point that, as far as a trust standpoint, if you're looking at overall business in general, customers just don't trust businesses, right? So they know that they're putting out their best content to put their best foot forward, pick me over my competitor. And there's just like a lack of heart and feeling behind that. And I know that. And so I thought if we're going to build any kind of trust in a saturated market, we have to have trusted folks tell our story on our behalf to audiences that know and love them.
I love that simply because there's a quote, and I'm going to say I stole it from Ed Milet, and who knows where he got it from, but he always says, like, facts tell, stories sell.
Mm,
And so the storytelling aspect of marketing is so important because, again,
mm.
people, they want to know how they're going to feel. They want to get that early on experience. So, like, how do you make sure that the storytelling side, like, how does storytelling play into hospitality marketing? Like, how do you do that differently when you're promoting like a treehouse location or something like that?
Well, let's think about it in terms of yourself. So when you look to book somewhere, whether it's a hotel or a glamping site or whatever, you're looking for a getaway and you search for something, you get like this Expedia style view of just like a picture and a price. And so all you're doing is choosing which one is the cheapest, right? Because you're like, I know what my price range is, which one is the cheapest. There's not a lot of brand name brand in hospitality other than like the big ones like Marriott, that kind of thing. And so the idea of storytelling is the only moat to be able to differentiate yourself from that Expedia experience of price, right? And so the reason why we were able to shift so quickly is because we had creators who all had their own storytelling style, by the way, right? So like I didn't dictate storytelling. Like you're going to have a different storytelling capability or view of visiting a resort than I am, right? And so those stories differ. And so there was so much content going on TikTok and Instagram at scale because this happened on a weekly, sometimes bi-weekly basis, depending on who we were getting in when. And there was just this constant different view, right? So we actually became known for the resort where you get your free golf cart because that was part of the storytelling process because from check-in to getting to your unit to visiting the amenities, you had to drive in this golf cart to get to all the places. So people would call us and say, oh my gosh, I just saw you're the place with the golf carts, right? Because they would see it in people's reels. So you never know how it's going to land and be digested by folks who are watching, but that doesn't really matter in the brand development process, in my opinion. It's just like, hey, if we're known for the golf carts, we're known for the golf carts. And if that helps us get bookings, awesome.
So one of the things that I've really am curious about, from your perspective, because you mentioned, right, you got known on TikTok and Instagram from these reels. These people love the golf carts. And I think the value of someone who doesn't know, like, and trust you yet, being able to see some of the perks and the benefits and the fun of what they're going to partake in when they arrive at your business or when they work with you. What marketing channels should owners really be prioritizing? Like, should it be TikTok and Instagram? Is that just hype? Should it be Google? Like, give us some insight from your perspective on that.
All right, I'm going to back up one step just because I know who's listening. And so, from a sales perspective, it takes somewhere between 20 and 30 touch points to convert a cold lead, right? But when you're working with an influencer, it takes less than seven.
Really?
So that, yes, yeah, because well, when you work with the right influencer, because they already have developed this strong community of people who know, like, and trust them. So it doesn't, there's no cold selling happening whatsoever. It's like, this is what my experience was. If you want in on it, here's a 5% coupon, or here's, do what you want with it. This is what, my honest take, and you do what you want. And once you take that, like, I actually feel like when you get the brand out of the way, a lot of really neat things happen. But you asked about how to know which platform to choose. This is probably a question as old as social media is itself. And I'll say this. You don't want to be everywhere because the volume of content necessary to drive demand is quite excruciating. And so what I did was I just started on Instagram and Facebook. And knowing how Facebook operates and knowing who's on Facebook, the content was very different. We did not put reels on Facebook or anything like that. It was just like lifestyle shots with like a question, right? Because that's a very different platform than Instagram. On Instagram, I noticed just through analytics and diving into what's working and what's not working on the platform that travel influencers were doing really great. So I started following a lot of the big travel influencers, and at first I actually mimicked our content based off of what they were doing. So our stuff started to feel more lifestyle than a branded project, and it was also more raw. Like I would stay there myself. And so then from there, everything's analytics based. What are people responding to, commenting, sharing, tagging people in your content? And every month I would go through and, ChatGPT, when that came out, that changed the game for me because I would plug all of my posts in and say, these were my best performing posts. Now guide me on next month's post. So I was like always refining on best performing on the platform that was working really well. So, a tech company would probably do better on like LinkedIn and LinkedIn and Twitter, right? then a travel company is going to do better on Instagram and TikTok. So it just kind of depends on your niche and then where your audience is.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. And this is a great reminder for sales professionals. Like, if you're trying to sell ice, you probably don't want to be hanging out with the Eskimos. You want to be in the desert where people need the ice. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of sales professionals, they lose sight of that. They just think, hey, I'm going to sell everybody that's got a credit card and a pulse. Like, everyone needs our product or service, which may be true, maybe not, probably not,
It's
honestly.
not.
But yeah, knowing your audience, knowing where they hang out, understanding the specific type of conversations and content that's going on those platforms, that will change the game for a sales professional. Because I know a lot of people that are like, "Oh, I need to be on Instagram and do silly TikTok dances and stuff," and it's like, "But do you though?"
Why? Yeah.
Like,
Do you?
what validation do you have to say that that's the only way to get the results in your industry?
Yes, I'm gonna take it up a notch for you.
Yeah, come
So
on.
I've been diving deep into synthetic data research because I actually think synthetic data is the future. Because I think we're gonna look back and we're gonna say how foolish we were to waste all of these massive resources on a lot of guessing. And that's basically what all of this conversation is about, is like who guessed better on what until there was enough data to give us something. And so what I'm experimenting with right now with ChatGPT's agent mode is getting to know my customer so well. Like, I'm finding out if my customer's calling me at 3 a.m. in the morning, waking me up, what is he saying and what is his pain point? And so,
Yeah.
like, being able to understand, is my customer on Instagram? What is the percentage? Why? What are they looking at? We have access to so much information now right at our fingertips that I don't think there's any more excuses for guessing.
I really love that. I've always, one of the things we talk about in our coaching platform and our consulting is like leveraging social media as a tool to create relationships when you can't be there to create the relationship, right? Because everyone has their own life, they're all doing their own thing, and you don't know if someone's getting off work at 9 o'clock at night and then they're having dinner and then they're scrolling at 11:30. But what I do know is that almost every relationship starts with a foundation of who you are, where you're from, what you do, some interesting stories or some things about you that will create a relatable connection. And when you're creating this content in a way that gets in front of them at the time that they are able to be in front of it, you can have 100, 200, 200,000 individual conversations with these potential customers, but you're doing it from a platform that's reaching as many people as possible while you're sleeping, while you're closing other deals, while you're having dinner. So, like, what in your opinion, are some of those types of content that a sales professional could start utilizing to just continue to build on what I call the personal brand? Because people buy from people; they don't always buy from logos and in corporations. Like, what's a little small content strategy that maybe some of these sales professionals aren't leveraging the way they could?
All right, I'm going to back up again. That's my favorite thing to do. Back up for a second.
Okay.
So 95-5 rule, you probably heard of that. 95% of the audience that you're building this content for isn't ready to buy. But sales and marketing folks tend to focus on the 95 as if they're the 5%. So that's
Mm,
one why brand development is so important, because when eventually that 95 is going to hit the 5, and there's all kinds of data for different industries to kind of know when that window is going to hit. And so when they're ready to hit in that, or when they hit that 5% mark, are you the one they're recalling? And so that's where we get into your question about, what kind of content can you be putting out from a sales perspective, building the relationship so that you're that recall when they hit that 5% mark. Something that I experimented with this year for the very first time, and I'm kind of on the fence of like, do one thing really good for a long period of time. You don't want to try a bunch of different things over a short period of time because it really takes that consistency to have that recall ability. So I made a personal decision to go all in on LinkedIn this year. And I've been on LinkedIn for 10 years, have done jack with it. just kind of let it sit there, and it was there. And yeah, when I got a new role, hey, congratulations, I got a new role, blah, blah, blah. This year I decided to use it strategically for my business. And two reasons why I went that direction, and then I'm going to tell you the strategy that I used. So one was both in December of 2024, I saw that less than 2% of the 4 million daily users on LinkedIn create content. So as a marketing or sales advice, that's what I did.
Holy moly.
I was like, okay, I know what to do. Say no more. I've got this.
Yeah.
Then within like a week, I guess not I guess, but I didn't know at the time that LinkedIn has these top voices that they name every single year in different industries, and then you actually get a badge and you get like extra algorithm play. It's this whole thing. So somebody that I followed was one of those top voices, and he did a massive post in December about all the best performing posts in during the year. So I actually fed the document to ChatGPT and said, these were the best performing posts in LinkedIn in 2024. I want you to help me develop them in my voice for my industry to help me with 2025. And so that was the foundation, and it helped me develop a 3-month posting strategy based off of what performed best the previous year. And my growth is through the roof. I mean, I've been doing this for 6 months, and I've already been called the one of the newest, most up and coming voices in short term rental space. I've been in the industry for almost 15 years. Nobody knew who I was until I started strategically posting my thoughts, my take on things in a way that both stirred up controversy lightly and pointed people to the future. So you cannot be saying the same things. And this goes no matter what platform you choose, you cannot be saying the same things that everybody else is saying. You have to have your own take and your own voice, which ChatGPT helps you develop now. And then doing so on a consistent basis is key. Now, the second part of that, on LinkedIn specifically, your comments are actually 10 times more important than your post. So while I focus on one post a day and I make sure that post is saying something interesting, I spend 90% of my time in the comment section. And because your comments actually will outperform your posts.
I am loving every bit of this. Because I too recently was like, I need to lean in on LinkedIn more. There's a severe lack of like quality content and creation over there,
Yep.
and I've always been a believer that the engagement side of it is so much more important than the posting. And this, I'm a believer that that's on every platform. Like the
Yeah.
algorithms are designed in a way that like when you're engaging, they want more people to see you and they want to show
Yes.
you stuff that you'll engage with because the pro tip, y'all, all these platforms, their whole goal is to keep you on there longer so they can sell you more ads. Like
Yep.
every time you scroll and they show you an ad, they get paid. So the more time you spend on there, the more they appreciate you and the more love they show you. Sarah, you also mentioned controversy. This is something that I had a real world experience with just a couple of days ago. I had made a post. I'm going to say throwing a little bit of a hissy fit about my bookkeeping team and this big mistake that they made. And that thing went absolutely gangbusters. Hundreds
Awesome.
of
Love it.
engagements, like tons and tons of comments. And I had to chuckle because I'm like, every day I'm posting something valuable, trying to share tips, tricks, tactics, things that can help people better their lives. And it gets some engagement. Don't get me wrong. I've got a pretty strong following and audience, but the moment I threw something out there with a little bit of controversy, a little bit of edge to it, boom, through the roof.
Dude,
And
you probably
so
hit a nerve. You probably hit a nerve of something that people are scared to say on the platform.
I got dozens of messages from people that were talking about the terrible experience they had with their bookkeeper or
Yep.
their accountant or like how they got overcharged for things. And so I want the listener to understand that you can't just be a negative Nancy all the time, right? Because that'll attract the wrong people. But you can utilize things like ChatGPT, which you've mentioned multiple times, as a tool to give you ideas and things to start going after. and it's your job to be able to do it in a way that's not just bashing people. You have
Hmm.
to find ways that you kind of push the button. You get the grammar
Hmm.
Nazis to show up because you misspelled one word in your reel or whatever silly little thing. But it's those little engagements that get it to show to more people. And
Yeah.
honestly, if your message is good, your story is good, people that will want to work with you, they'll see it and they'll be reaching out to you directly. And
Hmm.
so, Sarah, you absolutely nailed it in the fact that when you're commenting, when you're engaging, when you're creating a small amount of controversy, or even just getting people to share a differing opinion, it is a massive hack to huge, huge growth on social media. So thank you for that, because A, I don't think enough people understand that. And B, it's just reaffirming me as a marketer myself that once again, these are the things that make a big difference and help
Hmm.
that level of growth. And so, how do you balance the chat GPT and the content and the things? Because you see a lot of people right now that's like, oh, you're just posting AI content, like you're not original, blah 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 blah. How do you balance the AI content with adding your own personal spin to it in a way that makes it feel realistic?
Well, I will tell you this. I've been using it since day one. I've since beta mode. So I've come up with it a little bit over the last couple of years and learned how to, just force that thing into submission. So basically, over time, it's I've created this different prompts and stuff to be able to understand who I am, where I think or what I think about things. I mean, I refeed it my website, and so I'm always refining. It's never a one and done thing, I don't think. At least right in what I know right now, because I don't know everything, but I know what I know from going through this the last couple of years. And so um, creating a custom GPT is very helpful because that helps you like weed out certain things and work within a box, right? Because there's some things that you wouldn't say or wouldn't do that ChatGPT will default to. So building a custom GPT is really helpful with that. And there's lots of videos on YouTube on how to do that and then refine it in your voice. Another hack that I've learned probably like a year ago is, and it's changed everything for me, you have to have a conversation with ChatGPT. And I know a lot of people say that, and it's like, well, what does that mean, have a conversation? Well, I will actually put in what I want, and then I will tell it the same thing every time. Ask me one question at a time until you have all the information that you need from me to complete this task. And sometimes it'll ask me 4 questions, sometimes it'll ask me 50 questions, and so, and we'll just like going back and forth until it feels, I don't know how it decides it's done, but until it feels it has everything that it needs. And then it's like, okay, I'm ready. I know what you need. I know what you want. And here's your task. So talking to it in a way that gets it to get information out of you, because the more information it gets from you, the more in your voice it'll sound.
That is spot on. I always try to tell people the reason your stuff looks like a robot wrote it is because you talk to it like a robot. Uh,
Or
there,
you took the first thing it generated. Yeah. Yeah.
and 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 I think that's where you can see and tell the difference between the people who have actually created a true process versus those that are
Hmm.
just, oh, this is the hype. I'm going to try this and I'm going to throw it out there. But as creepy as it sounds, y'all, treat it like a human. Treat
Hmm.
it like someone on your team. If you were trying to teach them how to do a task, give it correction. Tell it, no, you're screwing this up. Stop doing that. Like, be polite about it, because we don't know if the robots are going to come back, and you don't need Skynet like chasing
I
you down because you're
remember
being
how
a
you
jerk
talked
about
to
it.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, he's. You ever see those memes where it's like, nah, leave him. He said thank you. He's all
Thank you.
right. And I love this because again, there's so many. Whether you're in marketing or sales, there's so many tools and resources that exist now that can help you speed up the process of becoming an expert content creator, of becoming an expert copywriter, of creating imagery and all the things. I mean, it is so far advanced and it's only continuing to get better. Now, caveat here, I'm going to pause for a second. This doesn't have to do with you, Sarah, but don't get an AI robot to talk on the phone for you. People still genuinely appreciate human connection when it comes to phone calls and conversations and support. That's my only thing. Let it be a content creator, do all that, but don't try to replace yourself with a robot in sales. I think that's a terrible idea. Now, that said, I want to ask you, for the folks who are listening, because we get a lot of people in real estate and investing, and I know short-term rental is definitely big in that space. Like, what's a big marketing myth around that, their properties and their short-term rentals that you wish would kind of disappear?
Oh my gosh, I just heard a post on LinkedIn about this. Um, the biggest one is that they can rely on Airbnb to set it, plug it, and leave it alone. And that Airbnb will fix all their problems, or the Airbnbs of the world will fix all their problems. And for those in the real estate market, you know that the issues that Airbnb have been coming out with this summer, I think they're dealing with their own major brand nightmare. And people are starting to look at alternatives. And because they haven't built this brand demand for their properties, they're floundering to find alternatives. So don't build on, and we say the same thing in marketing, don't build on rented land, right? And
Mm.
so the Airbnbs of the world is rented land, and those who have put all of their eggs in that basket are really starting to freak out a little bit right now.
Ooh,
And it
that's
doesn't
so
have to
good.
be that way. It doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah, it's kind of like the creators or the influencers that were like, I only use Instagram, and then their Instagram account gets shut down, and they're like, I'm poor. What am I gonna do? It's like there's value in having an email list. There's value in creating external places where you're connecting with these individuals. And I think especially in the short term rental space, build yourself a website, brand the house, get people excited about it outside of just what Airbnb or VRBO or any of these other platforms that exist. Like, it's kind of like when someone gets into the insurance or a franchise. They buy a franchise because it's got the logo, they've got the marketing, they feel like they kind of don't have to work as hard, but you're still limited by what those platforms will give you. And I don't know the exact numbers, but I know they take a pretty hefty chunk of those booking fees from you. So why not build a
Almost
brand of your
20%.
own? 20%?
Almost, depending on the platform, almost 20%.
Whew, that's a hefty margin to be giving up every time someone rents it.
Yes. Yeah.
I love this. And so Sarah, I'm sure you and I could probably nerd out for like the next 2 hours on marketing and sales and all of the things that are related, especially in the STR world. But how do we come find you, follow you, check out more of your content? Like, I'm sure there's a whole lot of genius that we're missing out on because, we're limited on time and I want to be respectful of yours today.
Awesome. Well, easiest place is my website, sarahstahl.com, and then connect with me there.
Super simple. Keep it simple sells. I love it. You guys know what to do. Go find Sarah. Make sure you checked out her LinkedIn. I'm going to be going and finding her on LinkedIn because I love seeing other great marketers that are putting out content. And I'm the kind of nerdy dude that's going to go and swipe all your stuff and be like, hey, Chat GPT, tell me what she's doing really well that I could be doing differently in my own business so that I can grow as much as she has. And, I think this has been an absolute gem of an episode just based around the fact that if you've got great marketing, you're generating more leads, you're going to make more sales, and it's going to be a lot easier because when you do it this way, they're already pre-sold. They already know what to expect. They're feeling good when they get on the call with you. And so, Sarah, thank you so much for your time today. This has been awesome.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Well, listen, if you guys enjoyed the show, share it on social media, tag Sarah and I, let us know that you got some value out of it. Maybe send it to somebody that like sucks at sales and marketing. Maybe let them learn a thing or two because ultimately the best thing we can do as friends is help people get better. So share it out. Maybe leave us a review, do all the things, subscribe to the episodes in the future, go back and listen to the other ones. But more than that, if you have an awesome story to tell, you've been in the sales or marketing industry for a long time, and there's some things that the world needs to hear, I want you to be a guest on the show. Head over to callthedamnleads.com/podcast. Send us your details. Let's get you on the calendar because everyone has an amazing story. And as Sarah told us today, the better your story, the more people are going to want to find you and work with you. So head over to the website, get yourself booked in. Other than that, you guys know what it is. We all got work to do. Let's go call the damn leads. We'll see you next time.